Bilinguals of Reddit, what's your they didn't know I spoke their language story? Late to the party, but once when I was younger I went to the park with my sister. We look very white and no one would know both of us to speak Mandarin fluently unless we told them. Some money must have fallen out of my sister's pocket, and in Mandarin we hear a mother talking to her daughter and telling her not to let us know we dropped money so that they could pick it up after we left. Both of us turned around straight away and my sister picked up her money while both of us gave them dirty looks, and we changed our conversation to Mandarin. The look of horror on both of their faces will forever be burned into my head. Remember, in China, if you can get away with it, why not? Visiting South Korea with my wife, a native of that country. I'm shaped like a lumberjack, and have a big, red lumberjack beard to match. A group of Korean women in their 50s and 60s nearby were laughing and calling me a bear, which I found hilarious. So one of the older ones says, "Gum, bear," to me as she passes by, and I start laughing. She makes that face like, did he understand what just I said? So I raise my arms and make a playful growl at her. She is horrified and starts apologizing while her friends all cover their mouths and giggle, as Korean women customarily do. I love Korea. What a cute story. See, I wish people could do this, rather than talking actually shit. This is cute and hilarious. One of my favorite stories in this thread, I think because it doesn't seem sorta malicious compared to a lot stories here. Like they didn't really mean anything bad by it, just an observation. You are big and hairy. Wow, first wholesome one. I love this so much. I'm a white guy who lived in Senegal for 11 years. As such I learn quite a bit of Wolof, the local language. 99% of white people here don't because they aren't that long. Anyways, there were a few times that people were talking about me or to me in Wolof without knowing I understood them. Once there was a group of teens at the beach and one of them greeted me with a Wolof insult for white people, red ears, but he said it in a nice way, as if I wouldn't know he was insulting me. He kept talking to me in Wolof and I responded in French that I don't understand, while in actuality I understood very well. After a minute I had enough and said in Wolof, "Okay, I'm going. I'll see you around, black ears." His friends had a big laugh and I moved on. I worked as a part-time clothing model for a while in an Arab country. I am Arab but I don't look like it apparently. Anyways, we had to walk around this convention and show the clothes, wearing heels on a carpet floor. I was young, around 16, I didn't know how to walk really well in heels yet, and the carpet floors didn't help either. The women that didn't know I spoke Arabic and started making fun of how I'm walking. I went up to them and asked them where the bathroom was in Arabic. They looked so surprised and embarrassed at the same time. It was lovely. Sometimes not being aggressive is the best comeback. When I was at university, I had a lot of friends that spoke Arabic. They would often go off on tangents in Arabic when I'm the only one who couldn't understand. I would never claim to be fluent, but I spent a lot of time learning Arabic on my own and from a close friend from Kuwait. I would catch things here and there and try to interject into the conversation. Obviously learned all of the bad words and could catch those pretty easily, so I knew if someone was talking shit. Everyone was always surprised when I would say something and get a pretty good laugh. I would imagine because I'm sure my Arabic was very broken in pronunciation, but also that a redneck-looking white guy from Wyoming in cowboy boots was speaking Arabic. I used to work as a dealer in a casino where our biggest, richest clients were Chinese. I don't look Chinese but I could understand and speak it. Sitting down on my table, they thought it was safe to discuss techniques to be sneaky behind my back, and also talk about me a little. I'm a young girl, so I got some creepy remarks. They never understood how they never got away with things, as I never made any indication I understood them. How would you stop them from doing their sneaky things? Do you have specific examples? Just curious, not doubtful. I don't know what kind of dealer she is, but if it's blackjack and they were counting cards, the casino would likely ban them for style of play. If they were playing poker, I'd be surprised they were allowed to speak Chinese at the poker table. Many casinos require players to only speak English to avoid cheating. Same reason most places won't let you use a cell phone at the table. Most Chinese expats that play locally seem to prefer Pay-I-Go or Baccarat. I know nothing about those games, enough that they consider those tables theirs and try to get people outside their community to leave if they try to play too. Lol. Teacher here had a student with serious issues concerning authority. Essentially, he would cuss out nearly anyone who tried to tell him what to do with every name in the book. One day, he thought he'd get creative and starting swearing in Spanish to avoid consequences and called me basically the equivalent of a wrinkly ball sack. Long story short, I would pay to have a picture of his face when I replied, in fluent Spanish, that he was going to call his mother and repeat what he had just said. I'm Chinese but I also speak English and Spanish, and if this kid really thought Spanish was a good choice of obscure language others wouldn't understand, wow, he's lacking some common sense. Lmao. Mandarin, English, and Spanish are quite possibly the worst choices if you are trying to say something without others understanding. Especially depending on area. Talking in shit in Spanish about white people while in the American Southwest, yeah dumbass, they probably understand you. Even if they don't speak Spanish, they all know the bad words, and more of them are fluent than you realize. Even in less obvious areas Spanish is definitely not obscure. I'm a white teacher in rural Canada. I live in an area with like no Hispanic people and I have no background in Spanish other than what I've heard on American TV, and even I knew when a Mexican exchange student was swearing at me. Lol. I had a teacher that spoke Spanish call out a student for being too PDAY with her boyfriend. I didn't need to understand what he said, the look on her face was priceless. Did this kid already speak Spanish or did he just learn the Spanish curse words? Why would he have reacted that way if he didn't speak Spanish? In Quebec on a ski trip a bus hit my dad's car while trying to park. My dad got onto the bus and started talking to the driver. The driver was quite apologetic, but when my dad started asking for his insurance information he all of a sudden couldn't speak English. Without skipping a beat Dad switches to interrogating the driver in French, the language he did all of his education until university. Driver was shook. Swift justice. I will never understand why anyone in Canada ever considers French a foreign language. I went on a short trip to Salzburg, Austria. I'm from Hungary. This winter, shortly before Christmas, I was walking through a crowded area in the Christmas market, everyone speaking in German, when I heard the guy right next to me yell "Who put their hands in my ass?" in Hungarian quite loudly. I started to laugh as loud as I can and the guy's face was all red. He was so embarrassed. Well, who was the person who put their hands in that guy's ass? BTW, thanks for the levity in a thread full of stories about people being shitty. I really don't understand how people think they are alone in speaking Hungarian in Austria. Historically, they were a United Kingdom at one point, just like in Budapest or Jura you can hear German. But we get that in Australia. Nobody seems to expect white people in Australia to speak anything other than English. Australia is a massive melting pot. People always seem genuinely shocked when Australians can speak another language. I work at an airport and have helped people with my awful, very rusty French. They always seem so stunned that I speak French. Maybe it makes more sense that an English colony on the other side of the world to Europe wouldn't have that many speakers of various European languages than a country actually in Europe. I'm always like, dude, have you even looked at a map? ? When someone expresses their surprise that, for example, many Swiss people speak Italian. So I was living in Barcelona dating a Swedish girl about 10 years ago, and I got really into studying Swedish and watching Swedish films and learning vocabulary and stuff. So we went on vacation to Portugal with her roommate over the summer, and we're on the beach. I'm listening to a conversation that they're having between themselves, and honestly not understanding much of it. But then, in this moment of pure clarity, I heard my girlfriend say ... Sometimes I look at him and I just think, why? Oh man, I confronted her about it, and I've never seen someone turn so red in my life. Why did she say that? Because apparently everyone needs to know this. She was a really rich girl from STHLM, trying hard, and failing, to be less boring by coming to live in Barcelona. I was 22 and completely insane, dreadlocks, going out every night and doing speed, drinking, MD, coke, waking up a lot of the time next to other girls. Half of the time I would look at myself in the mirror and think why? Which is to say, I wasn't really surprised that she had said it. I was much more surprised that I had understood it. I for one am glad you explained, since now her words seem to be justified, even if a bit tacky. Thanks for your honesty.